welcome to another amazing episode of Wrestling with Bros. This is Big Baby Ben.
Judas Black, and tonight our journey on this path called Wrestling with Bros has led us to referee Omar Salah. Man, let's get it. How you doing tonight, brother?
I'm doing good, guys. How are you?
Absolutely great.
Great.
You know, we like to give the spotlight to the guest at the beginning of the show, give you a few minutes to kind of talk about your wrestling career and how things have been kicking off for you so far.
This second run of my wrestling career has been going pretty good so far. Returned to the wrestling business back at the end of July. I've pretty much reffed every weekend since then. So that's very thankful to all the promotions out there that have trusted me to call their matches. And then this past year, to start off 2024, I've returned to the ring as an active wrestler, having had 2 matches so far down in Southland Championship Wrestling.
Nice.
Training with Mr. Judas over in the CSW Training Academy to get my wrestling legs under me and hopefully start getting some more matches and other promotions throughout the year.
Awesome. Yeah, I seen you in there. Are you like you're trying to be more into the matches now, or?
Honestly, whatever's needed. I prefer to wrestle, but I can ref. I can do production. I can do ring crew, run gear, kind of whatever's needed.
Yep.
A man of all trades.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Right.
So did you start out as a referee or did it start out as wrestling?
So I originally started it was supposed to be as a wrestler. And this was back in July of 2006.
Oh, wow.
So oddly enough, when I returned was in July, kind of full circle there.
Mm-hmm.
I started off with the old Windy City under Sam DeCero. So the old history with guys like Ivan Manson, Frankie Valiant, the Warlocks, a lot of these guys that are being advertised for the Mr. Bill Memorial Show that Southland and Chicago Style and Power doing in March, I want to say March 23rd. I was under that regime where a lot of those guys were still active. Initially, when I came in and trained as a wrestler. Day one, first person I ever trained with was the guy we know today as Kalisto. He and I were learning how to do the very basics under Isaias Velasquez.
Wow.
C. Red, who recently retired from the wrestling scene here in Chicago back in, I think, December, had me referee a practice match. And I distinctly remember after that match was done, he calls me over and goes, "Hey, have you ever refereed before?" And I'm like, "No." And in my head, I'm a fresh rookie. I've only been there a few weeks. So I'm like, "Oh God, what did I do wrong? What happened?" He's like, "Are you sure you've never refereed before?" I'm like, "I'm positive. Like, I've only seen referees on TV. I'm just mimicking what I saw." He goes, "Well, you've done a really good job with it. So much so that we need a referee for an upcoming show in September. I'd like you to referee on that show." So I was like, cool. So not only training as a wrestler, now I'm refereeing more of the practice matches that are taking place to kind of get that experience under me.
Yeah.
Not even a month later, Windy City does 2 shows in Wisconsin, 2 different fair shows. I ended up reffing both shows solo, 8 matches each show.
Oh, wow.
Right out of the gate, it was like, all right, you're going to referee? Into the deep end you go.
Wow.
Man. Oh, man.
Deep end.
Yeah.
So is there any kind of like special training that's really entailed in being a referee, or?
I think it depends on the school that you go to.
Okay.
At the time, Windy City didn't really have anyone training refs. C-Red kind of gave pointers to people here and there. And during my time training there, I think myself, another student by the name of Steven Smith, who wrestled under the name Hammy, lovely gentleman, one of my wrestling brothers, loved the guy to death. And then another guy they brought in by the name of Bobby J, who would help start another wrestling company down the road. We were kind of the 3 refs Windy City had. I just learned as I went. I got feedback from the wrestlers that I was doing matches for after the match. Hey, what did I do well? What didn't go so well? Judas, someone you'll know very well, Steve Boz was instrumental in teaching the basics of how to referee a good match because he saw me reffing the shows. So when I'd go to practice with him, that was something he had me do with practice. The practice matches there, and he'd give me pointers. Hey, be in position here. Keep an eye out for this. All those tools of the trade came with that. Interestingly enough, when I came back in July, there's a lot more guys refereeing now than there was, almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You guys got like Dev, Kevin Woods, Derek Matha. You've got a whole bunch of referees out there now who are very seasoned and very experienced. So coming back now, I'm picking up information from them, and it's just continuing that
Crazy.
training. It's been fantastic.
Okay, all right. So this is something we've seen, and we'll kind of ask you the question: are there any famous wrestlers that you have met thus far in your career?
Most of it was early on. So I refed a match for R-Truth. He took on Marche Rocket and Cicero Stadium for UAPW, Urban American Pro Wrestling. It was a Windy City spin-off company. Samoa Joe was another big name. Christopher Daniels, because they came in for Battle of the Belts.
Okay.
Wow.
There was a couple other guys on there from that show. I just don't remember off the top of my head. Larry Zbyszko was one of them. He was at that show. And then since I've come back through CSW, basically everyone they've brought in. So Gangrel, Tommy Dreamer, Kalisto.
Nice.
I missed the last couple shows, so I missed out on meeting like Sky because she's been there the last couple shows. Sky
actually came in for a practice a couple weeks back. She came to practice.
I saw that. It was one of the ones that I happened to miss because of work. And I was like, could have been there.
I know. It was awesome. It was definitely awesome.
Hernandez from TNA. Met him through Damage Inc. up in Rockford. Tom Latimer. I was on the same card as him in July when I came back for a night to remember in Tinley Park. And then Gringo Loco was one of the guys most recently for All-Star Lucha Libre. He came in and had a match that night. So there's been a few guys that I've been able to connect with and talk to. And Paul London, I did a seminar of his right before my official return to refereeing in July.
Oh, yeah. No,
wow.
I mean, I liked when I was back at SmackDown back in the day, my favorite tag team was Paul London and Brian Kendrick. When they were the tag team champs. I absolutely loved them back in the day when they were wrestling and doing that, and then they kind of left WWE, and I've watched some of their stuff since then, but that was my favorite time with those two. Like they could really move around the ring. So, and just to follow that up with this, the question of, you've mentioned the wrestlers that you have met. Is there any that you haven't met that you would really like to meet?
Well, one of them is Mike Bailey, who will be at Chicago Style Wrestling in a couple weeks here.
Yep.
That's hard to say as far as who I'd want to meet. A lot of them I'd want to pick their brains and understand their take on psychology and how they put a match together, how they dissect things. Mustafa Ali is another guy I'd love an opportunity to meet. He and I kind of ran in similar circles back in the mid 2000s. I think he came into Vanguard Wrestling once or twice, and I just happened not to be on the show. But we had some mutual people that knew one another. I met him on a flight to LA, but he was in a hurry trying to get to his luggage to get to the hotel. So outside of a quick fist bump and be safe this weekend, that was about the extent of the interaction that we had.
Okay. All right. Big baby.
We got a fan shout out, Oscar Miguel Rodriguez. Big shout out to Omar Salah.
Thank you, Oscar. I appreciate that.
Yeah, he said he hadn't quite had the honor to be able to meet you yet, but he's a pretty cool guy. And he works with MCW out of Ottawa, Illinois.
Okay.
And awesome. But he knows a lot of the wrestlers that we wrestle with, Lizard Man, Eldridge, stuff like that. Yeah, he knows a lot of those guys.
Okay, yeah, I've seen he's at a lot of the galley events that they're on in MCW.
Yeah, yep. And me and Big Baby here, we're going to be up at the MCW show on April 27th. We're actually going to be helping commentate that show. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
congratulations,
it's
guys.
going to be a definite experience for us. So, we're excited for it. We'll see how it goes.
That's awesome.
Big Baby, you got another question there, brother?
Is there any wrestlers on the circuit that you've been on that you would love to step in the ring with and have a match with?
Yeah, a couple come to mind. Judas is one of them. When he's ready, I'd love to have a match with him.
Oh yeah.
The group of guys that we train with in the CSW Training Academy, Quintero, Lizard Man, FXB, hands down, I'd love to get in there and mix it up with those guys. Moondog Greg Murray, someone I think I could have a lot of fun with in the ring. Outside of that, I'd love an opportunity to mix it up again with Isaias Velasquez, who's over at Freelance. I got the opportunity to wrestle him twice when we were in the old Vanguard company back in the day. So it'd be nice to run that back again and have another match with him. But I'm trying to think of who else. That's such a huge list of guys that I'd be like, yeah, of course, I'd love to wrestle that guy. Eric Schultz is someone who I'd love to get in the ring and wrestle, especially after he took my knee out at Southland Championship Wrestling this past Saturday. Yeah.
Ooh.
Briefcase to the knee during my championship match. Not a fan of that.
FXB, he wrestles, he trains up there in CSW with us, doesn't he?
Correct.
I thought so. I didn't recognize him at first with the face paint on, and then I seen a couple pictures where it wasn't so much face paint. I was like, I know who you are now.
Yeah. Oscar Miguel Rodriguez says Koa ?
Absolutely.
Yep. I know a lot of people say they'd like to wrestle Koa. That's for sure. And I'm in now that's piquing my interest now.
And another guy on that list, two guys actually, that I never got a chance to step in the ring with, but I trained with, Acid Jazz and Marche Rocket.
Okay.
Right.
So, in your wrestling career thus far, I know you said you were out for a while, and then this is your second run. During the times that you were wrestling, what promotions had you worked for, and what promotions would you like to work for?
So originally it was just Windy City, and that was mostly just refereeing. I think I did one battle royal as a wrestler, kind of on the way out, and I spent majority from 2006 to 2012, 2013. Wrestling for Vanguard Wrestling All-Star Alliance, the VWAA. We kind of spawned off of Windy City at the time. At the time, in that generation of independent wrestling, it was kind of common to be loyal to one or two companies.
Yep.
I was very naive with that. I really should have networked more and gotten out more. I probably wouldn't have had to step away when I did. But now, honestly, CSW would be fantastic to get and not only wrestle on the pre-show, but on the main card. But you've got POW, MCW. I currently wrestle with Southland Championship Wrestling. Would love to mix it up with some of the guys from Freelance. And honestly, being able to travel and wrestle would be fantastic too. There's a number of companies around us in other states that are kicking it off and they're getting hot. It'd be great to mix it up with talent in other states too.
Hey, maybe at some point we'll see you down here at HAW, Honor Among Wrestling.
I'd be down for it.
Hell yeah. Yeah, they're I think it's March 5th, March 16th. So the day after CSW does their show on March 15th, HAW is holding their 1-year anniversary show down here at the Bettendorf Community Center. Yeah, it's gonna be a good time. Doors open at 6 and show time is at 7. So definitely excited for that. I know A&B is going to be wrestling in that show. Gunner. Man, there's a list of guys and girls that are going to be there. I think Sue Young's going to be at that one too.
Okay.
So,
I think that night, ARW runs the same night over in Lake Station, Indiana. And speaking of them, if you're asking about wrestlers I'd like to wrestle, two other guys just came to mind. James Creed, current Southland Championship Wrestling heavyweight champion, and undeniable Nick Diamond.
Okay. All right.
Okay. We have another fan comment. Oscar Miguel Rodriguez says, I know a guy with pull in MCW that can make that happen.
All right.
Oh, okay. I might
All
have
right.
to reach out to Oscar here and find out who that guy is.
Yeah,
Oscar's pure
Oscar, man.
magic.
Oscar's he's got a lot of good connections with MCW. And he's a really good guy. I mean, he helped us with this opportunity and got it set up for us. And now it's going to happen. You know, it's going to make our show bigger and more people will notice who we are. So, um, but going back to the questions here, do you have any pre-match or post-match rituals?
Pre-match is making sure I get enough water. I dehydrate quickly, and then you get the cotton mouth when you're in the ring, and it's
Yep.
very easy to go. All right, what's happening? So I try to drink a good amount of water. And honestly, my pre-match ritual was just getting in the zone. What's my plan of attack when I go out there? What am I doing? Who am I going after? Who do I have to keep an eye on outside of the ring? Um, as a referee, it's who's in the match, who's outside the ring for the match. And kind of my pre-match ritual there is when I'm in the ring waiting for wrestlers to make their introduction, checking
Yep.
the ring, checking the turnbuckles, making sure nothing's loose, nothing's slippery. Because the
Makes
worst thing that
sense.
can happen is someone gets up on the ropes and they slip because there's baby oil left over from the previous match. And I kind of keep an
Mm.
eye on the fans. Who's roaming around? Who's moving around ringside? Some shows don't have guardrails, so you have little kids that try to get up around the ring, and it's like keeping them out of the way.
Yep.
But more on the wrestling side, it's just getting in that mindset of what we're going to go out, what I'm going to do, and waiting for my music to hit. Music starts hitting, start to get the adrenaline running, kind of bounce back and forth, and
Yep.
then at that perfect mark, bust through the curtain and get that crowd engaged.
Okay. All right. Yeah, no, a good buddy of ours, who's a wrestler, AMB, we keep bringing his name up. We've had him on the show a lot of times. He was just telling us, I think it was a couple weeks ago, he was out doing a match and he went to bounce off the rope and the rope was too tight and he ended up with a concussion and he woke up and I think he said he woke up in the hospital.
That's not good.
Yeah, no, definitely not. And I was like, man, you better take care of yourself. We don't want to lose you out here on this scene, especially when he just hit like a year on his career and stuff. So he's doing good. He's doing good out there. So
Yeah, I'm glad. It sounds like he's doing okay. Thank God for that.
yeah, yeah. Big baby.
When watching tape, studying, who do you study?
Oh man. I've honestly done a lot of studying lately on guys like Bam Bam Bigelow, Vader, bigger guys, just to get an idea of how they move, how they handle themselves in the ring. I'm not exactly a small person. Um, but then I'll look at guys like Ricky Steamboat, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart for the more technical aspects of how are they executing moves, when are they timing them, where does that stuff kind of fit in the flow and the psychology of a match.
Mhm.
Um, and then, guys like The Rock or Austin, Stone Cold Steve Austin in terms of their crowd interactions and the ability to get the crowd in the palm of your hand, hanging on every single thing you say and do, and being able to take them on that ride from beginning to end.
Okay. All right. Okay. Um, what famous referees have you met thus far in your career? I mean, you talked about the wrestlers you've met. What about famous refs?
Um, I haven't met any of the TV famous referees, so to speak, the Earl Hebners and the guys like that. Um, but you've got Derek Matha, who's now refereed, I think, for Impact. He's been on there a couple times. He does AAW. I believe the last post I saw for him, he's going to be at NWA in about a week when they do their Chicago territory kickoff. Um, you've got TJ Bowles, I think it's Bowles, who's up in the Wisconsin area. Dan Perch, who's pretty much all over the world. Whenever you look up what he's doing, he's always somewhere else refereeing. I think he does a lot of stuff for GCW as of right now. He's done some AAW. He's come in for All Star Lucha Libre, who's based out of Berwyn. He's another guy that I've been able to pick the brain of. And then Kevin Woods from Chicago Style Wrestling, who's done some work with Impact, and now he's doing some work again with NWA in about a week. So those are the guys that I've really been able to pick up some of that knowledge from on the referee side over the past, 6 or 7 months.
Uh-huh. All right, all right. And so, what is the best piece of advice you would say that a trainer or a coach has given you?
Probably the best piece of advice, I think, overall has probably come from Steve Boz, which
Yep.
is to not only to slow things down, slow down, and when you
Yep.
slow down again, um, but it's also to get that crowd involved, whether you're a baby face or a heel, a good guy or a bad guy.
Stay in character.
Engage your crowd, work them, because if you can get them involved, that match is going to be better. They're going to respond better. And the next best piece of advice wasn't actually directed at me; it was directed at someone else. But I overheard it from Marche Rocket, which was, in many ways, your character can be more important than the moves you're doing. If you can
Okay.
get people to buy into your character and what your character is doing, think of John Cena. He's got 5 moves of doom, right? But
Yep.
people believe that character, kids especially. Adults are a little bit more jaded, but the kids believe that character, and everything he was doing, they bought into it. He
Yep.
changed the color of his t-shirt, they bought the new t-shirt. They were sold on the character of John Cena.
Yep.
So he only needed 5 moves to go out and have a good match because the crowd bought into everything else he was doing. So if you got good psychology and good crowd work, you can make very little go a very long way.
Like Goldberg.
Yeah. He wasn't the most technical guy, but his character, his presentation, the audience believed it. He was believable in what he did, and
Yep.
look where it took him.
Okay. All right.
So who would you put at the top of the referee chain? And, who would you want to have a sit down with if you could sit down with one top referee?
Probably Earl Hebner at the top. And you think about all the matches the guy has done in his career.
Yes.
The amount of people he has been in there with that have been at the top of the industry for so long. That's someone that you could sit there and in an hour, seminar, probably learn more from him than you could in 10 years of doing it on your own.
Very, very true. Earl Hebner, man, he is a
greatest.
legend in business. What would you say would be the toughest opponents you've faced to date?
Probably the toughest opponent. We talking in terms of strength or in terms of wrestling ability?
Just terms all the way around, I guess. Just wrestling ability, I guess.
The person that took me to the absolute limit was Isaiah Velasquez in 2008 or so. We wrestled for the Vanguard, was called their circuit title. It was their secondary championship. I think the match that we had on that show was like 25 minutes long. I mean, it was intense, and it came down to the wire before that match was over. In terms of raw strength, was his name was Trauma, goes by Jay Washington now, is very popular comedian out in California. He's doing fantastic for himself. But he was the urban gladiator Trauma, and he clotheslined me so hard one time, I legit blacked out. When I realized where I was, we were in the back, and my tag team partner Virgil was talking to me, asking about the match and how things went, and I was just like, I don't really remember what happened after that. So you tell me.
No.
Yeah, it wasn't intentional, but it was the most brutal clothesline I've ever taken. But in tape, it looked fantastic, so I'm not complaining about it. It looked awesome. Just didn't feel awesome to take.
That's very believable. The harder someone goes for it, man, the harder it's going to hit. So
yeah, he said good night, and he meant that.
That's terrible.
You know what? I love the guy to death. Like I said, he's doing fantastic things for himself out in California. Shout out to Jay Washington. But arguably the hardest hitting person I've ever stepped foot in the ring with.
All right, all right. What is the most daring move that you've ever tried?
Um, Define tried. I was given a Tower of Doom suplex from the top rope. That was
Ooh,
inexperience at 250 pounds to go from the top down to the center of the ring with
Straight down.
three other guys. Yeah, it was nuts. Um, Other than that, I would say the most daring thing was I tried to come off the top rope last month or second rope in January for Southland, and going back to what I said about making sure the ropes are clean, something was slick on the rope. So when I went to jump off, I actually slipped
ooh.
and had to
Mm.
course correct coming down. Ended up not hurting my knee, but kind of jamming it when I landed. Because if I had to gone the way I was planning to, I probably would have fell and landed on my collarbone or something. Was not going to end well.
Ooh,
Mm.
no. Ooh, crazy. Big baby?
So, one of the surprise questions of the night: who would you say is the greatest big man in wrestling history?
The greatest big man in wrestling history. For me, for what I remember as a kid, is when I was watching him, I only saw him in the one company. Hands down, Bam Bam Bigelow. He
Okay,
could
Okay.
yeah,
move.
that makes
He
it
could have
fly.
different matches with
Oh,
different
yeah.
guys. He was athletic as hell for someone as big as he was, but he was able to do that not only in the WWF. He went to ECW and did it. He was also able to do it in WCW. And even though he got up there in age, he continued to be as agile as he was when he was younger. So to me, that's one of the best big men, in the history, as far as being able to go in there and put on a good match.
Okay. All right. All right. So if you had to say, would you have you ever had to dig deep into your wrestling bag of tricks to pull out a win on a match?
Um, I dug in Eddie Guerrero's bag of tricks for my first match ever.
There you go.
I was wrestling a guy by the name of Justin Adams on the first Vanguard show, and he kind of had the upper hand in the match. So I rolled out of the ring, looked under there and found a pipe and brought it into the ring. And referee Bobby J came over and was like, "You can't use this in the match." And I'm like, "Why? It's legal. It's American made. It's legal to use in this match." He's like, "No, you can't have this." So he grabbed it and went to take it out of the ring. So I rolled out to the other side and found a 2x4. Realized Bobby's going to turn around very quickly. So smacked it against the mat, threw it to him, and kind of hit the ground and just laid there. And it's like, "See, he hit me. Won by DQ." So what can I say?
Hey, there you go. I love it.
Pulled it out. Was victorious.
That's great. He's like, I just took man, that Biggie hit me.
He hit me. What do you want me to do? My head hurts. Worked perfect.
Oh man, that's great. I gotta do that in a match sometime. That's gonna be great.
I'll teach you the ways.
All right. Sounds like a plan. Big baby.
Are there any promotions with titles that you're interested in making your own?
All of them. Kind of collect all the belts.
Is there one that catches your eye and you're just like, ooh, I really want it?
Right now, I've got my sight set on the High Voltage Championship out of Southland Championship Wrestling. I should have had it one on Saturday. There was some outside interference. Like I said, I took a briefcase to the knee, courtesy of Eric Schultz. That title should have been mine. He was that close. He was about to tap. I had it. Outside of that one, honestly, it'd be whatever opportunity comes my way. I got to get into some more companies where I can go, yeah, I'm going to go after your heavyweight title. And I've got some friends who hold those championships in other companies. So sooner or later, I'll be knocking on their door looking for that championship opportunity.
There you
We
go.
do have another fan question. It's quite interesting from Oscar again. Have you had a situation where a finish had to be changed, and how did you handle it?
Yes, without getting too deep into the weeds on this, my first match believe it or not, in January this past year or past month. Um, what was expected to go down, the way it was expected to go down, didn't quite work out. The individual I was wrestling had a pinched nerve that in the middle of the match had flared up real bad to the point he really couldn't put weight on his leg. So I've got
Ooh.
him up, and he's he told the referee he's hurt. This is not going to go very well if he continues. Um, so instead of going the direction we kind of discussed, I had to pull him into a quick small package to execute and get the pin and get out of the match without him getting hurt any further. Because at the time I had no idea what was wrong. And I didn't want to risk, oh, well, let's just do what we had discussed, what was supposed to happen. Let's not go that route, because if your neck is damaged, right, you've got a broken neck, the last thing you want to do is take a body slam and an elbow drop.
Yeah.
Let's go with something safe that's easy on the body and that I can then exit the ring and he can be attended to or get out of the ring on his own strength.
Okay. All right. All right. What would you say is the most challenging move you've ever had to learn?
Oh man. Probably the hardest one for me, because I'm a bigger guy, jumping to a certain height can be kind of hard sometimes.
Yeah.
Executing a crucifix pin off of, an Irish whip. So you're shot off the ropes, duck under, hook, bring your legs up, grab them, and pull them down into a crucifix.
Uh-huh.
I could do that 20 years ago, probably not now. But that one took a lot, because if guys were certain heights, it became a lot harder to get myself up there and kind of hook them to bring them down safely.
Yeah.
I'd say the other one I didn't really learn how to do. It kind of got done to me, and it didn't go well, was a double hip toss. I was in a tag team match in practice, got sent off the ropes, double hip toss, and said, oh, okay, I know how to do a regular hip toss. I've never taken a double one.
Uh-huh.
So I jumped the way you would for a proper hip toss, and that's not how you would do a double. You do a forward flip. So I went one way, they went another, and I came down face first onto the mat, and my toes touched the back of my head. And I remember Steve going, holy shit, get out of the ring.
Scorpion yourself.
Yeah.
Oh my, hit the scorpion.
It was not a pleasant experience.
I bet not. Man. I was in practice
for a while after that.
Yeah, I was in practice a couple weeks ago, and I got tossed. I think it was like a suplex, or not a suplex, like a over or something. I can't remember it fully, but my ankle smacked off the rope.
Ooh.
That rope is no give.
No, it has no give.
Not the kind of give you want, man. I smacked it off. I just kind of sucked it up and kept going. I was like, I'm good. I'll be okay. I'll be okay.
Go home and ice that up and I'm going to feel that tomorrow.
Yeah, I felt it for a couple days and it kind of simmered down. So yeah. So,
are there any moves that you would like to add to your repertoire?
There are. One thing I'm thinking about doing is kind of like a Vader bomb. Something I need to practice and get comfortable doing, so I don't actually kill somebody doing it. Would be nice.
Yeah.
Some more stuff that you see guys like Kevin Owens doing, running cannonballs to the corner, sentons, things that I know I can execute safely. It's just a matter of getting the time in to properly do them.
Yeah.
Something we're limited with on height at the CSW Academy is there's not much room once you get to the second rope. So trying to do anything off the second rope, whether it's a suplex or muscle buster or something like that, a lot harder to do because you don't have the vertical space needed for it.
No. I was like, there's no way I'm ever going to try to execute a high-flying move off that top rope.
Now, that's something you're going to have to do either before a show when the ring is set up or at a different school.
Facebook user says, what's up, brother? I think it might be my sister. How's it going? So what was one of the funniest things that's ever happened to you in practice?
Oh, funniest thing. I've been to a lot of practices, so I'm trying to think here. Probably this was earlier, sometime last year. So Axel Rico was coming back from his injury. He was doing Tuesday practices with us.
Yeah.
And if you've ever been to a Tuesday practice with him, Judas, it's a lot of cardio intense training.
Okay.
A lot of theory and working through different, wrestling spots and stuff that makes sense and where you can fit them in a match. But he was going over with everyone on how to do a quick 30 to 45 second, minute long promo at most. Something you could bust out real quick, hitting, who's your opponent, what's the promotion, the date, the location of the show, and getting your opponent over. Why people want to come out and see this match. And his only rule was very simple. It's going to be a Royal Rumble style match. Say the number you drew, talk about why you're going to win, and pick someone that you're going to put over for who's in the match. The only requirement was you could not use the same number. Very easy.
Yep.
We got about 6 guys in, and I think I had said number 1 or number 30, and the 6th guy said it, and X was like, I just said don't use the same number. Couple people later, they bring up the same numbers, like, are you guys not listening? And it was one of those, like, they hit all the other points, but everyone wanted to use the same numbers, and they kept getting repeated, and he was losing it. He was ready to make people start running drills just as a punishment.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, I'm always able to get down there for sure on Thursdays. It's all based on my work schedule and being able to get out of work and when I'm done working and whatnot. And I always can make Thursdays no problem. I'm trying to work on getting some Saturdays. Tuesdays, that's almost impossible because I work all damn day.
Oh, I hear you on that.
Trying my hardest, man. I'm going to do everything I can as far as getting down there when I'm able to. And then, I have a 20-foot by 7-foot mat here where I just practice like the rolls, the shoulder rolls and the front rolls and front flips and back flips. And, and then that weird handstand thing we do. And then we come over the top with our feet and land.
Yeah.
Like where we have to pop our hips so we don't hit our lower back. That one's a little awkward for me, but I'm starting to get it down a little better. So
keep practicing it. You'll get it.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. A buddy of mine was over here a couple days ago and he was just messing around with me out here on the mat. And he tried to do that. he completely messed that one up. He's like, what the hell you want me to do? He's like, I can't. He's like, what is this?
There's a lot of different components to make it work right. But when you do it, it's awesome. But until then, your brain is like, you want me to go this way and then but land this way and do this? Like, what?
It's about taking that proper back bump from a flip. That's what it is. Yeah. So absolutely. Yeah. No, I just try to do what I can when I'm at home. So, and I try to remember the things that I learned in practice. It's like I told Steve, like I can watch an entire 20 guys run the same exact sequence, and I can come home and write it, type it down on my phone and remember the whole sequence. But when I step in the ring, I like freeze. I'm like a deer in the headlights. I'm like, so I'm trying to get past that point. I think it's just more of nervousness is what it is. And trying to get used to running or trying to remember certain things. But like I said, I think it's just the nervousness that gets to me. So.
Yeah, I've been there. I know what you mean. Something I found that helps me when we're watching that happen as it starts getting closer to when I'm supposed to go in and do whatever it happens to be we're doing. I start saying it to myself, not super loud, but okay, do this, then this. For me, it's almost like writing it down repeated the same way I would like a math equation, to where when I get in there to do it, I can speak to myself and the guy I'm working with. We're doing this, then we're doing that, then we're here, then we're there. It helps me remember it as I'm going through the motions.
Well, and also something that Steve had told me was that he said it would help if you could get down here on Saturday sometimes. He said because a lot of the the group is smaller and they do a lot more basic stuff on Saturdays.
Yeah.
And I think that's what my issue is. I'm coming on Thursdays when they're running we're running sequences and whatnot stuff, and I'm just kind of like diving head first in, and I'm not learning any of the basics to begin with. So
The group on Thursday is usually comprised of the guys that are wrestling matches, in and out every week, that are trying to improve that specific aspect. But I was there this past Saturday to connect with Nick on some gear he's making for me. There's a lot less guys there on Saturday, so ironing out those little kinks and the technique things that you want to get down, that's probably the best time to get in there for it.
Okay. All right. Big baby.
I'm ready to move into honorable mentions if you are, Judas.
All right. Sounds great. Honorable mentions tonight come from my end. Go to Omar Salah. We really appreciate you coming on the show tonight, man. And we definitely would love to have you back sometime to do maybe a creative episode if you'd be down for that.
Yeah, I'd be down for it.
All right. Absolutely. Big baby, go ahead.
My shout outs go to Omar Salah. What a great guest. Amazing time on the podcast. A lot of great stories. I can't wait to promote this episode so more fans see it. I hope this helps get your name out there, brother, because we do this for the wrestlers. We do this for the referees. We do this for you guys to come on here and tell us about you. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you guys for having me. It's been a few weeks in the making, Judas. Things coming up. But no, I really do appreciate the opportunity to come on and hang out with you guys. Some awesome questions have been asked. And you haven't seen the last of me, Judas. I'll hopefully see you tomorrow night.
Absolutely.
You guys have a wonderful rest of your evening. This is the last Vanguard, Omar Salah. I am a force to be reckoned with, and I will see you all very soon.
Awesome. Close it out, big baby.
I'm Big Baby Ben.
Judas Black, and it's been another amazing episode of Wrestling with Brothers.